right, welcome to another episode of Off the Carousel. I'm Jeff Goodman. I'm here with new Louisiana head coach Quannas White. And Quannas, first of all, congrats, man. Congrats. You got a job. You got a good job. And you've hit the ground running. And take me through first, if you can, what the decision was like when you got the job. You're in the midst of a run at Houston where you're assistant for Kelvin. You guys end up going to the national title game. You decide to stay with Houston rather than a lot of coaches right now. It's a hard decision because of the portal, because you want to pour everything you can into the new job, all your time. But obviously you guys had a special group there. And I assume there was some, not only loyalty, but also just like, hey, I want to be there for Kelvin and Kellen and the players and everybody.
Absolutely, Jeff. Man, having the opportunity to play in the NCAA tournament is special in itself. But we had a really, really special group. I just saw Milo Suzanne decided to go back to Houston, which is a really great decision for him and his family. But all of those guys that, from June, July, August, September, all of those months you spend preparing, to have an opportunity to make it to the NCAA tournament, let alone, be blessed with the opportunity to play in the national championship game. So, I knew all along that we had a special team, Coach Samson, Kellen, all of those guys, Hollis, who's family to me, those guys, that program over there is an amazing program, obviously. And so I didn't second guess it, not one time, when I was blessed with the opportunity to become the head coach at University of Louisiana. I knew that I would be, for a period of time, be juggling two jobs. So, it never crossed my mind. I knew I was going to stay the entire time, because we had something, really special that we could accomplish.
Quannas, why Louisiana? Why this job? Because, I'm not saying like you could have gotten necessarily a high major job as an assistant, but who knows? You stay another year or two. You guys went to the title game. You're going to be good again this year. You know that. You're 44. Not like you're in some crazy rush to get one. Why Louisiana now?
Jeff, I'm big on people, man. I'm really big on people. Dr. Maggard, the athletic director over at University of Louisiana, he and I, had several conversations. We met several times and we got to know each other, and we share, a lot of similarities, same vision. He's a people person. He works extremely hard. His work ethic is very similar to mine. And, he's a huge reason for me taking that job, and it being in Louisiana. I never cared about the level. I always cared about, do they have the right administration, right? And the president, Dr. Savoy, all great people. Me and my wife, they welcomed us with open arms from the very beginning. And, if I knew, when I thought about taking a head coaching job, I always wanted to make sure that they had the right administration. And again, it being in Louisiana, I'm from New Orleans, Lafayette is 2 hours up the road. The people of Lafayette are just been outstanding. And, that Southern hospitality is something that I'm used to. And I thought, University of Louisiana being a program, right, in the Sun Belt Conference, which is a really good conference with great coaches in it. I just know that it's something that you can build on and, make it, a powerhouse. I really do believe that. I come from a program where, I've watched us build Houston basketball program, get it back to where it needed to be. And so I've been a part of that. And so, I think we can do the same thing at University of Louisiana. I really do.
I'm going to give you an interesting fact and then a challenge. All right. I'm going to give you, this is crazy. My favorite player ever went to Louisiana.
Okay.
How about that? My favorite. And let me preface this with, I grew up in Boston, and my favorite player ever went to Louisiana, and his name, he would have been a Hall of Famer if he had stayed healthy in the NBA, is Andrew Toney, playing for the Philadelphia 76ers. Boston Strangler, elite, like, man, I'm a little older than you, Quannas. So you didn't see Andrew Toney in his prime. Anyway,
Heard great
unbelievable
things about
player.
him, though.
Yeah, and he didn't give a shit about anything other than just playing ball. How about this? He has not done one interview, not one, since he retired from the Sixers. So I'm going to give you my challenge to you is I don't think my guess is they've never gotten him back. Maybe they have since he retired, but the Sixers, he didn't end that well with the Sixers. Never went back since for any of their things they've had. Charles Barkley said he's the most talented player he ever played with, ever. That includes, Barkley played with Moses Malone and, obviously some great players.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, you got to. I've talked to Andrew Toney. I've tried to get him to do an interview. He was close, but he never did it. So love that dude. So anyway, that's an interesting, totally off the topic deal there, but he was unbelievable. Give me, Quannas, the biggest thing you learned in the last 8 years coaching under Kelvin Samson, who, 8 years ago, I feel like Kelvin didn't get the respect that he gets now. Probably deserved it, but like building Houston, and he gets most of the credit, but you've been there for all this over the last 8 years or so. And I feel like Kelvin and even Kellen get a lot of the credit. And the Samson family, they're dear to my heart because I love his wife and his daughter and everybody. But what was it that you took from this that you will bring with you? I'm sure there's a lot.
Yeah, Jeff, it is. Getting to sit under Coach Samson, I have a huge advantage, right? I played for him. Every year Coach has been in the Final Four, I've been alongside of him. So I've as a player back in 2002, and then the two here, right? Going to the Final Four, losing in that game, and then getting to the national championship. So I always say experience is the best teacher, man. I got an opportunity, an amazing opportunity to sit under, a guy that I believe is a Hall of Fame coach. And he's even, a better person, right? And so, the biggest thing I've learned from him is just, as simple as this may sound, is just to be consistent. That guy has never really, he talks about the three people that can't have a bad day: head coach, point guard, and the best player. He lives by that. That's not just, something that he's saying. He's never had a bad day. Didn't matter if, he was getting up in age, right? Like we all will. Or he was having, just not a good day or ill, whatever. I've seen him at his worst, right? But he's never, anytime when it's time to go down there on that floor, for practice, he's on set, right? And he's committed. And so the biggest thing I learned from him is just to be consistent. Doesn't matter how you feel. You're the leader of that program. I'm the leader of University of Louisiana. And so those guys are going to get the same thing our guys got here at Houston, which is, commitment and consistency and, just putting your team in a position every single day. And I think you do that by being consistent.
So most assistant coaches are the good guys on the staff. I heard you were not necessarily the good guy. I heard you, right? Am I wrong?
Kellen.
Well, Kellen had to be the good guy, right? He was the good guy, and you were the bad cop. So you're used to this. So is it going to change much going to the head seat?
Nah, I mean, man, I think you gotta be who you are. You get these opportunities. I've learned from Coach Samson, and it's obviously I'll take a lot of what I've learned from Houston and from him over to University of Louisiana. But I think you got to put your own spin on things, and you got to do things that you feel is best and go with your gut, right? I can't try to, emulate Coach Samson. I got to be Quannas White. But to answer your question, I was the bad guy sometimes, right? And me and Coach Samson, very similar. He paid me a huge compliment and said, that I was one of the coaches that had, out of all his years of coaching, that was very similar to him. And not that I tried to be that way. And I was just that way. So, yeah, but from time to time, I could be the bad cop. Yeah, Kellen wasn't wrong.
If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today.
Does that mean similar to him? So obviously we know what he preaches. Like you said, consistency, toughness, defense. Will you be this, like, will this program be the mid-major version? Will you try to make it the mid-major version of Houston if you can? Is that the goal, or are you going to play differently?
Well, we've been to the tournament every year that I've been at Houston, right? I want to say I've been there 8 years. So, if you take the COVID season out, it's been 7 straight seasons. So absolutely, right? I mean, we won, and so again, though, you gotta be you. But I do love defense, but I also love giving our guys great freedom on offense. Our guys and future recruits, they're going to love playing at the University of Louisiana because of the freedom that I'm going to give our guys, right? But I'm a defensive-minded coach as well. I do not like getting scored on. And so when you talk about the similarities of me and Coach Samson, we are the same. I'm not big on guys getting blown by and, getting scored on and then immediately rush, to take the ball out like it never happened. That's not something. I'm old school in that way. And so, defense means something, but again, we're going to be, versatile offensively, and our guys going to play with great freedom and confidence.
So like I said at the outset, I mean, you've done a really good job, hitting the portal, getting some high school guys as well. Like, you don't know the league that well yet, so it's hard, and nobody knows any league that well right now because of all the turnover right now. But what are realistic expectations? Like, what have you kind of something in your mind of hey, you know what, we want to just compete for the league title this year? Like, where are you at with expectations? Have you set them going into the season?
Yeah, Jeff, my expectations, and you can call me crazy, man, but I was like this as a player, and I'm not going to change now that I'm a head coach. My expectations are high. They are what they are, man. I'm a really confident guy. I believe in outworking people, outworking work, right? And so, my goal for this team is to win a league. My goal for this team is to get to the NCAA tournament. And nothing has changed just because now I slid over into, the head coaching role at a, mid-major league. No, that doesn't matter. I understand, the task ahead of me. I understand the coaches in this league, which are high major coaches, right? And so, but, when I got over to Houston, it's no different. Year one, I went up to Coach Sampson's office and told him we're going to get to the tournament this year. And we did. And so that's just the way I operate, man. That's the way I think. And I want my players to think that way. And I think it's a huge reason why we've been really successful on the recruiting trail, right? Those kids feel that passion, right, from the head coach, the assistants. And I got to give my assistants a lot of credit. You talked about, me juggling 2 jobs. That's not easy. And you don't do anything alone. I'm big on we, not me. Right. You're only as good as the guys that are around you, Jeff. And so I got some really good guys around me. That team that got assembled within the span of 2 weeks. Right. And in this day and age, how difficult that is. My assistants were, hitting the ground running on the phone. Yeah, I was on the phone as well when we was taking breaks from scouting report, whether it was playing Duke or Purdue. Once I wasn't in the scouting report, I was on the phone. So, but I got to give a lot of credit to all those guys that are on my staff. Each and every one of those guys played a major part in helping put that team together that I believe has a real chance.
So I think one of the misnomers about you is that you're a recruiter. And I think people get a chance to see this now that you're a head coach, but what you did developing some of these guards at Houston was incredible because they didn't come in. I mean, none of those dudes came in big time. Like, I guess maybe Grimes a little bit, right? But like Sasser, no. Shed, no. Uzan, not really. I mean, and look at the change, from when I saw you guys in November in Vegas, I was like, man, guys could be in trouble if he doesn't figure this thing out. The development part of it, how big is that for you there not to lose that as a head coach and especially with the guards?
And that's a great question. With the guards and the bigs that we got coming, I'm on my staff every single day, and the guys that I've hired strategically are really good player development coaches. I just believe in that. And in this day and age with rev share, NIL, these kids all have aspirations to make it become a pro, whether that's in the NBA or overseas, Jeff. And so I want these kids to be prepared for that. I wanted them to be prepared, the guards at Houston, to be prepared to go chase their dreams. And you look at Milo Suzan that you just spoke of, Coach Mosier at Oklahoma is a really good coach. But we got the opportunity to, sign Milos and get him over there and, work with him every single day and develop him. And I'm big on player development. Big. I want these guys, the guards and bigs, but the guards at Houston, I wanted to take them and develop them and just put them in position to be in position, to have success over at Houston, but also be prepared, once they go on to their professional careers. And so you look at Jamal Shead in year one, the season that he had as a rookie, Marcus Sasser, same thing. And then for Milo Zuzan and LJ Cryer, right, who I thought LJ Cryer was arguably the best guard in college basketball. I think he had a phenomenal year. I thought he would be in the NBA Combine. He should have been. But, all those guys came in with something, and I got to give all those guys great credit. And I tell our players at University of Louisiana, be receptive to coaching, right? Be a great listener. It really starts there. And so, I got to give the guards at Houston huge credit. All those guys had great work ethic. Emmanuel Sharp, all these guards that Quentin Grimes, like you just talked about, all those guys had a, great work ethic, workmanship mentality, and they wanted to get better.
Yeah.
And so, when you look at the guys that we recruited at University of Louisiana, we just didn't go out and sign these guys. We did a great job of evaluating. It starts right there. And then listening to them after you ask a question, several questions, I might add, and getting a feel for them, getting a feel for their parents, and as well as agents now. So there's some agents that, doing it the right way. And we had great conversation with those guys, and, our mindsets are the same. And so, but our guys at Louisiana, they want to get better, no different than the kids over here at Houston. And it starts there.
So here's an interesting one, because not many guys have in this current climate have dealt with it at the high major and the mid-major level with NIL right now, right? Like a lot of, take me through the differences. And I know you haven't coached these kids yet at this level, but obviously the money is completely different now than it was a couple of years, even a year ago. It's completely, it's doubled for the most part. What's it been like dealing with it at that level compared to at the high major level?
Well, to be honest, it's just the dollar amount, right? That's
Is it
that's
still the first question for most of these kids, or no?
Not the kids that we're recruiting, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Right. You got to keep the main thing the main thing. And so the very first question I ask is, what's most important to you? Right. As simple as that sounds, is major. Right. And so the kids, and this is the God honest truth, we've signed tons and tons, 8 transfer guys, I want to say. I think I'm right on that. Every last one of those guys have said they wanted to win and play in the NCAA tournament.
Okay.
That's their first answer. And it wasn't, well, coach, I need you to talk to my agent. How much NIL can I get? Right now, I'm gonna get off the phone with those guys immediately. I won't ask any more questions, right? And so all of these kids, we got Joshua Lewis, who's top 60 from Tampa, who originally committed to Iowa. Turned down several SEC schools and a couple Big 12s, I think. That kid wants to develop, Jeff. And I could say this about Karis Bilal, who transferred from Vanderbilt, Jamiron Keller, right, who played in the Big 12. And all these kids are coming to University of Louisiana, but they want to win, right? The other stuff is just, an added bonus, right? But first and foremost, all these guys said, Coach, we want to win, and I want to get into the NCAA tournament. So for the fans and people out there that think, all these guys are just fixated on money, they're not. They still want to win.
Yeah, the good ones do, right? I mean, that's you're right. Like it's how you guys were able to be so successful at Houston, right?
Oh,
you built a culture and you didn't deviate from it. You didn't
Absolutely.
deviate, and it makes it a little bit easier when you win at a high level to do that because you're going to get players. I think a lot of players knew when you come to Houston, the first question, if it's about money, probably not going to work. And if you can do the same thing and carry that with you, man, like it solves a lot of issues. Because I do think, Quannas, and I don't know if you agree with me here, but this year you're going to see more locker room issues than ever because the numbers, the salaries, while they're not public, they're out there far more. I think, you're talking about a bunch. In the NBA, they're out there. In college, they're kind of out there, and you're going to have some players that, let's face it, may not be producing, and guys in the locker room are going to look at him and be like, all right, why is he making more money than me? This is BS. Like, I just think you're going to have more issues than ever, and it's going to be more important to have. And we saw it with you guys last year, like chemistry, man. Chemistry is so important. Culture is so important. And I feel like Houston, I don't know if there was a place in the country that we felt like culture was more paramount, right?
No, you got a point. You got to have a culture, and it starts with the head coach. It starts with the head coach, and then your assistant coaches. Right. Again, I talk about, the guys around you, being extremely important, and you're only as good as those guys. Right. Absolutely starts with the head coach, but those assistant coach, the support staff, the time that you spend with those kids and building genuine relationships. And before all of that, Jeff, is recruiting. You're not just recruiting the player, the student athlete. You're recruiting his parents. And now, you had AAU coaches, which I've been an AAU coach, right? It's high school coaches. It's still all of that, right? Because those are relationships that, those guys have an influence and have their own relationships with that kid. But now you're bringing the agent into the mix. And so, navigating all of that, these are, some different times. But all of those things are extremely important, and you have to do that. That work has to be done in building those relationships with all those people I just named. Yeah. Because if you're not, and you don't, speak to those people, now what you're saying can probably take part, right? You got to make sure you're getting the right kids, and you got genuine relationships with all of those people. And they have to share the same vision as the head coach and whoever the point guy is, the assistant that's doing the bulk of the work.
Well, listen, great catching up. Quannas White, new coach at Louisiana. Good thing is you're old school, but you're only 44. You're still young. So you could deal with the ever-changing landscape of college basketball a lot easier than your former boss can right now. Right? Although he's pretty good. Hey, for his age, I'll give him credit. He's been pretty adaptable. He doesn't complain much. Maybe he does. Maybe he complains to you and Kellen, but he doesn't complain much to the media.
Nah, he's been awesome, man.
He may coach forever. What did he sign? He just signed a new 5-6-year deal. Like this dude may go to like 80.
Hey, well deserved. Yeah, he's like a second dad to me. That's my guy.
Yeah,
that's my guy. I love him.
Well, listen, Quannas, congrats again. Looking forward to seeing. Like I said, if you get Andrew Toney back on campus, you let me know. I'll be there. All right, I'll be there.